It's Wednesday, the 30th of October. Hello, kia ora, I'm Philip Duncan. Thanks for joining us. It's good to be back after the extra long weekend that we just took. Hope you had a good one as well. Let's have a look at the animated air pressure and wind map today. It's showing high pressure out here to the west in the yellow and the brighter whiter shading south of Perth. But this system down here is a storm over the top of the Southern Ocean, hugging Antarctica, and between the two, the spring westerlies, they carry on blowing through. And that's going to continue on this week. It's going to ramp up by the end of the week, calms down over the weekend, and then next week another surge of windy weather to kick off on Monday. So let's explain that in a little more detail. This is how it looks on the forecast satellite map starting overnight tonight, 3 o'clock in the morning. Windy westerlies carrying on, not overly strong in most places, and you've got a few showers, some rain down here in the south, and a few showers along the western side, dry for most other places. So let's animate Thursday and Friday, and you're going to see this rain band and showers moving up the coastline. Weakens as we go into the early hours, 3 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. It's weakening as it moves into the North Island. You can see the front starting to get sort of breaks into it, but still plenty of showers behind it, southwesterlies, and of course, it is a cold front, so temperatures do drop behind it as we go through Saturday for the South Island and then later on across Saturday for the North. Here is rainfall for the next 48 hours starting from tonight, so it takes us through until 9 p.m. Friday. The blues and the greens for the North Island, not very much. Some heavier falls around Mount Taranaki and the Tararua Range. We're also seeing, once again, heavier rain returning to the west coast. Over the next 48 hours, the numbers aren't too alarming though, around about 100 millimetres or so. Just keep up to date with Met Service in case there are any warnings and watches. And then the spillover, once again, Southland and Otago. Carry on your wet spring. Not a massive amount of rain for most of you. Further to the east, you're only getting about 10 millimetres in that yellow, and Canterbury looking mostly dry. Here's how it looks at 1 p.m. on Thursday. So the storm down here over the Southern Ocean, 960 hectopascals at least. It may be below that, and it is going right over Antarctica itself. Now, most of that stormy weather is south of us. We've got high pressure to the north. The next one is south of Western Australia. Between the highs up here to the north and the storms and lows down here to the south, we've got the classic windy westerly flow, and that's the reason why we're seeing all those westerlies blowing across us. It's not settled because the highs are too far north, and it's not as stormy as it could be because these lows are a long way south. But you've got these windy conditions picking up on Thursday, showers along the western side of the country, and as we just mentioned, around Southland as well. Here are the temperatures across the country, the big picture kind of view. Still seeing it pretty warm along the eastern side, not as warm to hot as it's been, but still warmer, and mild conditions to the north of New Zealand, not overly cold to the south as well. Certainly not seeing snow around like we did the other day. Here is 1 o'clock on Friday, so we've now got a chance of severe gales through central New Zealand. The usual kind of severe weather warnings hopefully shouldn't be too problematic, but it will be windy on Friday, especially in Wellington and other areas to the upper South Island, especially around the Southern Alps. Again, the rain is on the west coast, and we do see some rain and wet weather pushing into Southland and into Otago as well. Elsewhere is looking mostly dry, and this is a subtropical breeze for the North Island, so Friday, especially in the east and the north, should be fairly warm. Here's Saturday. Cold front comes through. That's that one that we talked about. As it moves up and it weakens, that's all that's left over by 1 p.m. Saturday. So just a few showers. Don't expect much. If you need rain, this won't deliver much for you. Down in Southland, sorry to say, you've still got more wet weather. I know you're tired of it. Another burst here because of the stormy Southern Ocean weather and because the highs, they're placed further to the north. It's just making you very vulnerable, as it's been like that since the end of winter and across spring so far, to get these southwesterlies. Drives in wet weather to the bottom of the country, and as you see, by the time it gets to the top of the country, it's pretty much falling apart. And it keeps many in the east, Canterbury, Marlborough, Wairarapa Upper, Hawke's Bay, Gisborne, all of those places staying mostly dry. Eastern parts of Northland as well. Into Sunday, high pressure. Well, it's been a while, moving back in again. And so conditions aren't too unsettled around New Zealand, but there are a few isolated showers, maybe a couple sneaking in there to Hawke's Bay. I know you want some rain. This won't be much, so don't get excited. But a few showers coming through here on Sunday for you. For those who don't want wet weather or stormy weather, Sunday's looking pretty good around New Zealand. But see what's happening over in Tasmania and Victoria, the big, strong, severe gales, spring westerlies return for them. And then by Monday, it's our turn. Another storm down here, about 950 hectopascals, very low air pressure, severe gales all the way up, including the lower part of the South Island, with high pressure at the top of New Zealand, keeping the upper half of the North Island fairly calm and settled on Monday. But the lower half of New Zealand, the lower half of the South Island, severe gales and heavy rain over on the west coast. It does ease back a little bit on Tuesday for the South Island. Bit of a cold front moving into the North Island. Once again, not very much with that. And usually as we go in further towards summer, these fronts that come out of the Southern Ocean area really don't deliver much rain for the top of New Zealand. But the winds pick up on Tuesday for the eastern side of the North Island, and that will help your temperatures stay up. All right, let's go overseas now and over to the Western Pacific. Typhoon Kong-Rey. This is a major storm and it's still strengthening as it moves in towards Taiwan. Now this is where it's located, 6 o'clock this evening New Zealand time, 1 p.m. today if you're in Taiwan. This is the northern part of the Philippines. So this is tracking directly in towards Taiwan. It's going to hit there on Thursday. Here is the tracking from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center out of the US. That's why it's spelt that way. You can see the tracking of it coming straight in here to Taiwan, right over the central part of the island. Taipei to the north. We've got Manila well to the south, outside of the cone of uncertainty. This is the cone of uncertainty here, where the storm could track. Further out you go, the more there's sort of uncertainty. Shanghai to the north, Japan over here. So the storm's going to come straight on in, smack Taiwan directly, curves around, probably misses mainland China, and then heads on in towards Japan in a weakened state. This is also how we look as we go in tomorrow evening. 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon for Taiwan, 6 o'clock for us in the evening, New Zealand time. This is about the time that Kong-Rey is making landfall. What are the wind speeds? At its peak, it's expected to get up to 130 knots. That is 250 kilometers an hour sustained winds. And the gusts, 165 knots or 305 kilometers an hour. That is expected at some point tomorrow or tonight as this storm system moves in closer. A major typhoon for Taiwan, and that is making landfall later tomorrow. That is all from me. Later tomorrow being Halloween in New Zealand as well. We'll have an updated forecast for you on Thursday about weather conditions, but generally speaking, maybe a few showers around. That's all from me for today. We'll see you again tomorrow, Thursday, with our next update, our Australian update, and our November Climate Watch update.